Very good. Well, hello and welcome to our March Fitness series on strength training. My name is Marlene. I'm a health and fitness coach. And this is going to be the first of 4 weeks of strength training. See, somebody just popped up. Oh, thank you, Bruce. Nice to see you. So, anyway, the first of 4 weeks of strength training. So, today, what we're going to work on is really what we would say is functional strength training. When I'm programming for strength training, I like to program for the basic movement patterns that we do in our lives as human beings. So, there are some essential movements that we make every day, in the course of living. Those would be we squat or sit down and stand up. We hinge or bend over to lift. We lunge or walking step. There, we push things, we pull things, and then we stabilize through our core. So, those are your essential movement patterns. So, what I've designed for us today is a very simple workout program that is going to hit all of those movement patterns with your major muscle group. So, that is week one. And as we progress, we will move into variations, more complex compound movements, and talk a little bit about how you progress from the basics moving forward. So that's what we're going to get started with today. So before we start, I just want to get us warmed up a little bit, especially if you've been sitting at the desk. You just want to make sure that you're somewhat warmed up. Let me just adjust this a little bit here. Here we go. Okay, so let's just warm up our joints. So start with some big arm swings, loosen up those shoulders and the neck. Swing one direction and then the other direction. Arm circles, loosen that up. And let's roll those shoulders. Bring them exaggerated all the way in, all the way down and back. Loosen up that shoulder girdle all the way around. Perfect. We're going to try doing some little drop down squats here. Loosen those up. Let's get in 5 or 6 of these. This is a very abbreviated workout, warm up. But and let's do some knee grabs. We just reach those up. If you were getting up after sitting or driving to the gym or whatever, you want to get loosened up. So you might get on the treadmill for 5 or 10 minutes just to get your blood moving, and then do some movements like we're doing here to loosen up around your joints. Little torso twist, plant your lower body, twisting side to side, and drop it down. Stretch out that side body, side to side. And we'll end with just a couple of jumping jacks just to get our heart rate up and get that blood pumping to your extremities. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully you're a little bit warmed up. As I said, that is a very abbreviated workout warm up, but in the sake of time. So today, what I've got for you is we are going to do two different circuits. And we're going to do them as time circuits only because when you're creating a program that has to be done in 30 minutes, using a time circuit is easier to control that time. If you were doing this at home and this is being recorded, so if you were following along, you might want to do repetitions instead of time. And if you're just starting out, in a lower weight or body weight, you want to be doing somewhere between 10 to 15 repetitions. And as you get stronger and add more weight, you might drop those repetitions down. But for today, we're going to be doing time circuits. So we're going to start with our lower body exercises. I've got 3 exercises for you, and we're going to do 40 seconds of doing the exercise. We'll have a little 20-second recovery. We'll go through those 3 exercises, 1, 2, 3, 3 times each. So we'll basically be doing um, timed repetitions, and we'll do it 3 circuits each of each exercise. So, for our lower body exercises, as we said, we have certain movement patterns that we use. And one of the most important ones is being able to get up and down from a seat. So, our first movement is actually going to be a squat, which is a sit to stand movement. So, with a squat, you want your feet about shoulder width apart, toes can be pointed slightly out. And what we want to think about is pushing your knees to the outside as you sit down and back. So, from a side position, that would look like this, sitting down and back. Now, you might get to 90, you might not be able able to get to 90 yet, that's okay. We want to keep moving forward. And if you're not comfortable doing that without a seat, you can have a little bench or a chair, sturdy chair, tap that chair and come right back up again. You can do these with body weight or using a single weight or two weights at your side. So I'm going to use a dumbbell and hold it up here so it's in sort of a goblet squat position and show you it through that. If you were using a band, it would look more like this, where the band would be up over your shoulders. From there, we're going to move into alternating lunges where you step forward, push off the heel of the forward foot, and come back. And we're going to finish with a deadlift, a lift. So when we talk about lifting things up, that's a hip hinge movement where you're going to push those hips way back, flat back, as though you were going to lift something, and then come back up to the top and squeeze at the top. So I'll go through these again as we're moving through them. But we've got our squat, our lunge, and our lift or hinge movement. Those three things are the basis of our lower body workout today. We'll go through them 3 times each, 40 seconds on. And again, the goal is 40 seconds, but if you want to count reps, that's fine too. Okay, so here we go. I've got my weight up here and I'm doing my squat movement. Shoulder width apart, pushing my knees out, sit down, come up, squeeze at the top, pushing my hips back to sit down into position and come back up. Here we go. Now, when you're exercising, breath is very important. You want to make sure that you're inhaling on the easy portion, which is the down in this exercise, exhaling on the exertion. So inhale, exhale. Okay. There's your first exercise, your squat. We're going to move into our lunge. And again, with a lunge, you want to step forward. Lunges work balance, coordination, and lower body strength. So we're stepping forward, bending down, pushing off the heel of our forward foot, and coming back. So here we go. Let's do our lunges. Alternate side to side. Now, if you are not feeling stable, you can do these next to a wall or the edge of a desk to hold on to, because sometimes, being a balance type exercise, you might not feel comfortable and stable initially. But that's why an exercise like a lunge is so important, because balance is one of those things, if you're not working it actively, you are losing a little bit of your ability to balance. And that's a really important one. So the last movement is that lift that I mentioned. So I'm going to use a weight with it. I'll use 2 dumbbells. I'm going to keep them nice and close to my thighs. I'm going to take my shoulders, lock them down and back, feet shoulder width apart. And when you start this movement, it's about pushing your hips back. My upper body stays in alignment, go to about just below my knee, come back up, squeeze at the top. This movement you should feel in your glutes and in your hamstrings. When we talk about lifting with your legs, that's what we're talking about, using your posterior chain, your glutes and your hamstrings to make the lift. Without a weight, same idea. Keep those hands close to your thighs, push back, hips go back versus sitting down into it like a squat. That's your lifting movement. So that was our first circuit of these. We're going to go back through the whole routine again. So first with our squats. Now, if you are using bands, your squats, you can take the band, take it up to shoulder height, tall chest. Here we go. Let's get those squats in. We're moving. Same thing. Sit down and back from the side. That would look like this. Come up to the top. Always squeeze at the top. Inhale on the lowering portion. Exhale on the portion going up. So before you start any exercise, whether it's a lower body exercise or an upper body exercise, we want to make sure that, there we go, last one. You want to make sure that you're in proper positioning, proper form. So, whatever the exercise is, check your form. Shoulders should be down and back, your shoulder over hip over knee, head nice and level, chin level with the floor. That's your proper positioning. And every exercise starts from that position. We're on our lunges now. Here we go. Let's move. Step forward, push off the heel of the forward foot, keeping that alignment going as we move through the exercise. Now, exercises like lunges, we're doing them forward, but when we start adding in variations, we're not going to just move forward and backward, because in real life, we move side to side, we move forward, backward, we rotate. So adding variations that use those same patterns is really important as you increase your exercise. Okay, we're going back to that lift now, okay? If you have a band and you want to add some resistance to your lift, you're going to step on it on the bottom and do that same movement. So shoulders are locked down and back, knees are soft, tail is tucked under, and I'm pushing those hips back and coming up to the top. Push back, back, back. My back goes flat. My head follows my upper body as I come up. And at the very top, I'm going to squeeze my glutes at the top. These kind of movements are really important. The lift and a bridge movement, because they help wake up those gluteal muscles that we've been sitting on all day, which have a tendency to get a little lazy and sleepy. And that creates muscular imbalance where you might get some lower body pain, lower back pain. So you really need to focus on waking up those muscles. Okay, we're back to that squat, okay? So if you're using a weight, hold it in the front position, and we're sitting down and back. We don't want the knees caving in. We want to be pushing to the outside edges of our feet, of our shoes. I always say, think about it as though you're trying to pull a paper towel apart at the seam as you go up and down. Set it down and back and come up from the side. We're setting down and back and come up. Here we go. All the way down, all the way back, and up. Okay. 2 more exercises left in this lower body circuit. Back to those lunges. Now, with lunges, you can always use weights, holding them at your sides. I'll bring these little ones in here if you want to add some additional resistance. But let's get into alignment. Tuck my tail, shoulders down and back, head is steady. Step out, push off the forward foot. Here we go. That's it. Pushing back. Tall chest. So as I said, when you're first starting out, if you haven't been exercising, your goal might be to do between 10 to 12 to 15 repetitions, depending on how easy it is for you. Maybe with just body weight or with very light weight. And go through a circuit where you're using all your muscles, maybe 1 circuit, build up to 2 circuits. Today we're doing 3 circuits. And that's how you progress. Our last movement is that deadlift. Shoulders down and back, tail tucked, tall chest. Chin is level with the ground, and I push those hips way back. Feel that stretch all through my hamstrings. Slide it back up, squeeze at the top. Here we go. So your knee is not locked, it's soft at the bottom. Your leg remains straight, but your knee is soft. And it's your hips that really do the movement here because they're pushing back and our Upper back is locked in position, shoulders down and back as we move through it. Okay. So that's our first circuit. We're going to move on now to our second circuit. And our second circuit is going to be upper body. I'm just going to stop this for a quick second here. Stop it. Oh, I'm going to start over so that we have time to go through that. Okay, so our upper body movements. For the front of your upper body, most of your movements are push movements. So we're going to start that as a push up. If you were doing this on a bench with dumbbells, you would be doing a push, a press, chest press. Or if you were using a band, it would be anchored against something and you would do a press out. Same idea. I will do all three, but I'll start with the push ups. Push ups can be modified on your knees, on your toes, wherever you're starting with. So that's our first movement. Our second movement is going to work your back muscles. When we talk about the back of your body, it usually involves pulling. So think of a row, pulling down, pulling back, pulling up from the floor. Those are the muscles for the back of your body. So we're going to do a pulling motion, which is a row, which I'm going to use dumbbells for, where I'm pulling back. If you had a band, you would be pulling back in the same position. And then we're going to end that workout with a stabilization exercise, which is really a full body exercise, and that's our plank. Plank will also work your shoulders with stabilization and your core. You know, our core is what connects our upper body and our lower body, and that's where movement transfers through and it keeps us stable. Think about the rotating movements where you want to prevent rotation or you want to be able to rotate and move things side to side. So our core is really, really an important part of your whole physiology. It's the only, it's where we link the upper and lower body. So we're going to end with a plank. So that's going to be our three exercises: a push, chest press, or push up, a pull, a row, and then a plank. So we're going to go through same thing, 1, 2, 3, 3 times. So we'll have a full circuit of upper body work. Okay. So we're going to start down on the ground with your push-up. If you can do these on your toes, great. Now with a push-up, I want to make sure that my hands are directly under my shoulders and my fingers are splayed out. And I'm going to lower my whole body down. My elbows go back about 45 degrees, and then I push up. Inhale on the easy part, which is going down. Exhale on the exertion. And there's your push-up position. Okay. Now, being up here and doing this, you're not using the appropriate muscles. You actually might injure your neck and shoulders doing that. So you want to make sure that those hands are at chest level as you come down and push yourself back up. Okay. So that's our push up. We're going to go into our rowing movement, our pulling movement. I'm going to start with a band and I'm going to just step on this on the edges. And in this movement, I'm going to kick my hips back, nice flat back, and pull back with the band. I've got to make that a little tighter so I have a good amount of resistance. Here we go. And driving my elbow back towards my hip and letting it drop back down. So here we go. Squeeze at the top of the movement. Exhale as we pull. That's the exertion on this part. And squeeze at the top. Pull those elbows back towards your hip. You can see my arms are parallel with my legs slightly bent, and I'm pulling it back towards my hip. So I squeeze at the back for your back. Okay, we're going to take it back down to the floor for our stability exercise for our core, which is the plank. Plank is an excellent, excellent exercise for your core. It really works those deep internal core muscles that really help to stabilize us. So we're going to start same type of push-up position. Want to make sure my hands are directly under my shoulders. I don't want to be up here or in a valley, no mountains, no valleys. You want to tuck your tail under and tighten your core. Think about an invisible string from your belly button that's being pulled through your back, and you're holding that core position. Nice steady breathing. Keep your head neutral. You don't want to be up here or down here. You want to be in alignment. And there's your plank. You can also do that plank. I have some issues with the thumb, so I'm going to do the next two on my elbows. Same principles apply where your elbow is directly under your shoulders. Okay, so we're back up. If you did the push-ups, you can continue doing those. If you would prefer, or if you're using a band, I'm going to anchor that around my little post here. And that same pushing movement, hands are at chest position as I push out and then draw them back. I like using resistance bands for some of these exercises because you have tension all the way through the movement. So push out, keep it nice and steady, level with my chest, and let it come back. Control the movement all the way through. Out and back. So same idea as if I was pushing my body up, only here my body stays still and I'm pushing my arms out. There's our push-up position. Now we did the row with the band anchored on our feet. I'm going to do the same movement using dumbbells. And if you need to put your leg on something and do one side at a time, you can do that. I'm just going to start here, hips are back, like I'm in the hinge position, and I'm going to draw those elbows back towards my hips. Okay, exhale on the pull back, inhale as I release. Exhale, squeeze at the top, inhale as you release. Drive them back, come back forward. Drive them back. 2, 1, and rest. Okay, we're down to the plank again. Again, core stabilization. Want that position, tuck the tail under, engage your core. Think about tightening that up and keeping the positioning where your elbow or your hand, if you're doing it extended, is right under your shoulders. So here we go. Head is in alignment. Tuck the tail, hold that core nice and tight. Elbows right under shoulders. No mountains, no valleys. Think about drawing in that navel, your belly button towards your back. Stabilize through the movement. And rest. It's amazing how long 40 seconds can be when you're in a plank position or you're trying to hold a position. Okay, we're back up for the, let's see, the chest press again. So for this one, I'm actually going to use dumbbells and show you how to do that with dumbbells on the floor. So that same push movement, if you were doing this in a gym or if you had a gym on a bench, same idea. I'm going to stabilize, get my back nice and flat. I've got my weights at chest level and I'm pushing up. Inhale as I come down, exhale as I push up. Now, if you're starting to move into heavier weights as you progress, doing the chest press on the floor is always a great movement to start because you have the floor to stop you. Sometimes if you're on a bench, you might go past what is comfortable for you as you do this chest press. So drop them down, squeeze at the top as you come up. So 3 different ways that we've worked those forward pushing muscles, your pecs, front of your shoulders. 3 different ways we've worked those. We're back to our row. Okay, so that's the opposing muscle group, hips back, head in alignment, drive those elbows back. So you have your front pushing movements and your back pulling movements, opposing muscle groups. And if you are setting up your workout, it's good to do that where if you're doing a full body workout like we are today, where you work alternating opposing muscle groups. Or as you progress, you may do 3 sets in a row of just the chest press and then move on. As you increase your sets, you would maybe do 2 to 3 sets of the one exercise, take a break, and move on. We're back to our planks. Drop those elbows or hands down directly under shoulders, tail tucked, drawing in my belly button, keeping my head neutral. Inhale and exhale and get you breathing nice and steady. Hold that position. Feel those deep internal abdominal muscles working hard to stabilize your body. Very important, as the world is always going to try to pull you around, and we're stabilizing. Okay. So that's the end of our session. We're going to do a little bit of stretching out here, but we've worked 3 lower body exercises and 3 upper body exercises. And then as we progress, we will change that up to include, as you're working your chest press and your row, you are engaging your smaller muscle groups like your biceps and your triceps. They are engaged in those exercises, but you can always add in specific exercises for those smaller muscle groups. Some of your shoulder muscles, the front and back shoulder muscles, biceps, triceps, things like that. That's how we progress with workouts, by adding in different exercises, changing the direction or the plane of motion of an exercise, or changing how many repetitions or how many sets you do. Those are the variables that you can do. But today we started with our basic movement patterns: push, pull, squat, lunge, lift, and stabilize. And exercises all work in those different movement patterns. Okay, so let's just get loosened up here. We're going to start with my favorite. If you're a yogi, you know cat cow or cat camel. Just going to arch up and then drop down. Inhale as I do a nice big arch in my back. Exhale as I reverse and come back up. Again, this is a very short finish. I'm going to drop into a cobra pose. Feel that stretch all through your abdominals and the front of your hips. Nice, good breath. Inhale and exhale. And then I'm going to push that back into a child pose and feel a stretch all through my side body as I pull my fingers forward and push my hips back and get a good long stretch. You can increase that by moving to one side and pushing against that hip while you're pulling those fingers forward. And then move to the other side. Push against that hip while I pull those fingers forward. I'm going to bring that back up into cobra. Feel that stretch again. Good. Inhale and exhale here. We're going to move into a 90-90 position here. Tuck that tail under, lean forward. Feel that stretch all up through the hip flexor into your abdominals. Extend your arm to feel that stretch further. And from there, I'm going to sink back and feel the stretch on the back of the opposing leg. We'll switch to the other side. Tuck the tail, lean forward, reach, feel that stretch. Couple of good deep breaths. Take that back. Feel the stretch through the back of the opposing leg. There we go. We're going to do our little figure 4 here where I'm in this position, and I'm going to drop one leg over the other and lean forward. Feel the stretch all through my hip. There we go. Feel that stretch through the hip and move it to the other side. Figure four, drop down into it. You can do this sitting on a chair as well. Feel that stretch through your hip. Very good. Let's turn it over. Step up into a down dog and walk those feet in. Slowly roll up. Ooh, reach into nice wide and finish. Okay, well, thank you for joining me. I have chat box open if anybody has any questions about today's workout. As I mentioned, today was the beginning of a 4-week series if you want to able to join us next week and the week after. And today we really worked on the pretty much 6 essential exercises that most of your workouts will be built off of those exercises in variations and different variations and compounding them, putting them together in different ways. Thank you, Risa. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Bruce. Nice to see you again. And as I mentioned, for next week, we're going to add in some exercise variations. And again, body weight, free weight, dumbbells, it's great to have if you have them, but we can work around it, working form first. So even if you're doing the exercises just with your body weight, that's a great way to go. And then we'll start to increase the output. I am going to stop the recording here. Perfect.